Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. My name is Tanya. I make videos to help you connect to self, whether that be through natural DIYs or herbs or just feeling good or garden talks. Welcome. So in this video, I have a list of 10 herbs that I feel like are the most beginner friendly. I also feel like these are very common herbs that most people start with. And so if you are someone who is looking to get into herbs, learn about them, or grow them, because growing them is the best way to learn about them, honestly, these are the most beginner friendly herbs. From my experience, I've grown all of these for quite a while. These are the herbs that I have found to be the easiest to grow, whether it be starting from seed or from propagation, or if you buy the plant yourself and then you propagate it and make plants out of plants. These are the easiest to care for as well. Mind you, herbs in general are pretty easy to grow, and the simplest way to learn how to grow them is to grow them. Okay, plants will teach you a lot. Herbs have taught me a lot, and it's even more beautiful when you get to eat your herbs, consume them in whatever way, culinary or medicinal, in herbal form, whatever the case. Herbs offer so many beautiful healing properties, and they're so abundant. They are so abundant. Once you grow them, you'll see what I'm talking about. You may not be successful your first time around if this is your first time growing herbs. Even if you have experience growing plants, you may not be, but don't let that discourage you. Make sure to watch my video following this one on how to take care of your plants. Okay, this video will be me listing the 10 most common beginner friendly herbs, and also sharing like my experiences and thoughts growing the herbs specifically. The other video is deeper into how to actually care for them, so make sure that you watch the other video as well. Another thing to note is that this list is obviously just an idea, okay? There are thousands of herb species out there in the world, some of them which you may have never even heard of because they probably don't even grow in your area. Okay, so this is just an idea, and just note that other herbs that I feel like are a little more advanced just require a little more knowledge of like the season, the care for them, the germination, the phases it goes through, the space it requires, all of that good stuff. Okay, so now all of the herbs that I have on this list are perennial herbs. Okay, only one of them is an annual herb, meaning that it is a woody or herbaceous plant that can continue its growth for more than 2 years. So basically, come cold winter times, it's important to protect these perennial herbs so that their roots don't end up freezing. And if you do so, basically, come another season, like springtime, that same herb that you planted a year ago or 2 years ago or more than 2 years ago will continue to blossom and flourish in the correct season, right? As opposed to an annual plant, you have to plant it every year. I like to think of perennial herbs as going into like hibernation mode. Basically, like during freezing seasons, it will go into a dormitory phase where you won't see it grow, basically, or, you know, blossom. Like if it's a lavender plant, you won't see no buds for sure, right? So it is asleep, you know, it needs sun to grow, and that's how I like to think of perennials. And perennials are very beginner friendly because of that reason, because they don't require like a lot of work, like every year having to replant a new one. Okay, so I'm just going to read off my list and then I will share my experience with it. I have grown all of these herbs and they've all taught me a lot. And I have actually not only made medicinal products with them, but also herbal teas. And let me tell you, like I said at the beginning, when you consume your own tea with herbs that you grow, it's just so much better. It just hits different, you know? So number 1 is rosemary. Number 2, lavender. Number 3, sage. Number 4, basil. Number 5, catnip. Number 6, chocolate mint. Number 7, peppermint. Number 8, hierbabuena is what I know it as, spearmint. Number 9, lemon balm. Number 10, rue. Okay, so rosemary, lavender, sage, basil, catnip, chocolate mint, peppermint, spearmint, lemon balm, and rue. All of those are perennials except for basil. So all of those that I just mentioned, I've been growing for years in my mom's garden, and every year they come back to life and they just continue to take over. So that is one thing to know, and as I mentioned, watch the other video that goes further into it, but some of these herbs will take over, mainly mint. Any herb in the mint family will take over your garden if you allow it to. So it's just crazy to see it every year come back to life, and the garden keeps expanding. It like started with one little plant, and now the garden's like taken over this huge chunk of the yard. Okay, so rosemary. Rosemary is pretty simple to grow. You can propagate it. Propagate meaning making a plant out of a plant, or from just buying the plant at a store. And you can also separate the plant. So there's a few ways, but overall, rosemary, I've had such a good experience with it, and yeah, it's pretty simple to grow. Number 2, lavender. Lavender, I feel like out of this whole list might be the hardest out of this beginner friendly list. I've tried to grow it from seed. I've never been successful from seed. I've propagated the plant, and I got somewhere, but not fully to the plant. And then I usually buy lavender like rooted already, and either separate it once it grows really big, separate the roots, and it doesn't hurt it from my experience, and then make plants out of the plants, and just take care of it by like pruning it and giving it what it needs. Lavender, I feel like, is hard to grow from scratch, and from what I have researched, other people have experienced it as well. Number 3, sage. Sage is pretty easy to grow. Like, you can go to your local organic produce aisle at a market, buy some sage that is like for cooking, baking, whatever, and you can make a plant out of that cutting. Like, it's that easy. In just like 3 weeks, you'll see roots coming out of it. Which is awesome. The thing is that once you get roots and you have a little plant going and it's growing, then caring for it, I feel like, is a little hard, because it seems to be a very delicate plant. It doesn't like to be overwatered at all. Number 4, basil. Basil has to be the easiest herb that I have ever grown, like propagated. Like, again, you go to your store, buy some basil, put it in a glass of water near the sun, and in 1 week or 2, you'll have roots and you'll have a plant. Boom, you have basil. But the same thing applies. Basil is so sensitive. It's like once you get it to rooted into a pot, then taking care of it is the tricky part, because if it's too much water, a little too water, too much sun, or a little less sun, like, it's so sensitive. But overall, if you are able to buy a mature basil plant, you can also separate it and make plants out of plants. And the thing with basil that's so amazing is that if you are able to successfully grow it yourself at a propagation, or you buy it at a store, if you prune it, like cut it regularly, it will encourage it to grow new leaves like crazy, and that's how you get basil to spread. Which is why if you buy a mature big basil plant that has nice roots, and if you buy it and it looks like there's actually two in there, you separate it and continue to take care of it by pruning it, then you have now two plants that's just gonna grow and grow and grow. Catnip is very easy to grow. It comes back every single year, and cats love catnip. My cats go crazy for it. It's a real thing. Number 6, chocolate mint. Yes, if you have never heard of chocolate mint, it is a thing. It literally smells like chocolate and mint. Also, all of these mint plants come back every year. I see them in my garden. It's so amazing. Chocolate mint is pretty easy to propagate out of a cutting. You know, you have a plant, cut it, put it in water, and give it a few weeks. You're gonna have roots. Then you have another chocolate mint plant. And it spreads very easily, so if you do allow it to spread, whether in a pot or on the ground, then you can also separate it if you're very gentle with it, not to break it. Mint plants are the easiest. Mint plants are not sensitive when it comes to like anything, really. I mean, as long as you're giving your herbs, you know, all the sun they need and rich nutritional soil and not overwatering them, then you'll be fine. Number 7, peppermint. Peppermint is incredibly abundant. It has to be probably the easiest herb to grow and make an abundance of it. I literally have a whole garden that I let peppermint just take over. Peppermint, within like 1 or 2 weeks, you can make propagate out of cuttings. The thing to note with peppermint is that if you allow the plant to blossom into a mature state, meaning you'll see a little white fuzzy like plant bud at the top, that's when you know it's mature. If you were to cut that to propagate, to make a cutting out of, it's not going to be successful. You need to propagate the very small ones and you'll be successful. It is so easy, incredibly easy. And number 8, spearmint. Same thing applies as I said with chocolate mint. Number 9, lemon balm. Lemon balm is kind of similar. It acts kind of similar like peppermint, where it will literally take over. Like, lemon balm roots are so strong. Like, I had a part of the garden that like the soil was so dry, incredibly dry, and it still managed to plant its roots and just completely take over. Lemon balm is one of those plants you also, because the roots take over, if you gently separate it, you can make plants out of plants, and it is such an amazing herb. And the last one, rue. Rue is such a sturdy herb, like such a sturdy herb, and it's so incredibly easy to propagate and make cuttings out of it. And you just put it in water in a few weeks. It does take a few weeks, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, you'll have roots. And yeah, rue is a very sturdy herb. Like, you can leave it in the same pot for quite a while. The roots will start to take over, so you'll have to put it in a bigger pot. Some of these herbs, you can literally cut it at a specific location, okay? And you take the bottom and you put it into some grow powder. I'll show you right here. And then you literally just stick it in some nice, fresh, nutritionist soil. You leave it there and you allow it to grow. Of course, it needs sunlight and all of that. Plants that you can easily do this with: rosemary, lavender supposedly, but I don't have luck with it. Rosemary, sage, rue are the easiest. You don't even have to, basically you can skip the propagation phase where you put it in a cup of water and wait for the roots. You can skip that. You literally just make a cutting and then you dip it in some growth. You don't even have to dip it in there. I mean, I have experimented with both, and then you put it in some soil, you let it do its thing. In a few weeks, like 3 to 4 weeks, you can gently pull on it to see if it's growing roots. It's gonna have roots. It's really that simple. All of these herbs, I'm going to reiterate, are so simple to grow, whether it's outdoors or indoors. You just have to know the basics of taking care of an herb. Okay, so watch my other video that goes deeper into that. The other thing I will say is that it's really important where you get your herbs, okay? Don't just get them from anybody, okay? Herbs, especially depending on what you're going to use them for, which in most cases I feel like either culinary, medicinal uses, you know, teas, you should buy them organic. Okay, so if you go to your produce aisle and you're buying them for cuttings, you gotta make sure that it's organic and it's quality. If you're buying the plant already rooted and potted, make sure that you're buying it from someone who is selling it organic and you trust this person, okay, because it's very important. So that's pretty much my list. If you're watching this and it's like winter time and you're wondering how the hell am I gonna grow these herbs, where am I gonna get my hands on them, don't worry, it's still possible to grow them. You're just going to have to do this indoors for now, which is fine because my next video is how to grow a tea garden, which would be ideal to have like a little space in your kitchen or your home with little plants, and just go snip off some fresh mints or whatever herb whenever you're feeling some tea, right? So it doesn't matter if it's currently winter and you don't have access to sun. You're simply going to have to invest into some indoor herb lamps, and it's worth it. It's totally worth it, okay? So yeah, you can take this list and do whatever you want with it. You can go searching online. Some place that I really recommend to buy your herbs is Etsy. Again, make sure that you read about the seller. Etsy is a great place. You know, they will literally ship you live plants. It's what I used to do. And you can start from there. Or you can go to your store, go buy some cuttings and start the process, okay? But that's my list: rosemary, lavender, sage, basil, catnip, chocolate mint, peppermint, spearmint, lemon balm, rue. And also the reason why I think these are amazing to start with is because you can use all of these herbs in everyday cooking, you know, like rosemary. Throw some rosemary in your potatoes or something. Lavender, so many recipes with lavender, like if you watch my lavender loaf cake video. Sage, you can put sage on a lot of cooking, a lot of things. Basil, oh my gosh, so many things you can make with basil. All these mint plants, Lord. And also tea, you can't go wrong with tea with all of these. And yeah, super amazing. So let me know what you think are the most beginner friendly herbs in your opinion. Drop your comment below. Let me know if you plan to grow any of these. This is like beginner friendly starter pack for your herbal garden. And I will end this by saying that you can go about it in whatever way you want. If your little heart wants to grow it from seed, just know you're going to need more patience and love and space and maybe materials for this, because germination and all of that goes through phases and a lot of days and a lot of weeks, okay? If you want to go through the propagation phase, where you go buy some cuttings, get your hands on some cuttings, or you buy a plant, then make cuttings out of it, then you can totally do that. If you just want to buy the plant already ready for you, rooted and everything, and you just want to buy the plants, and boom, you got your garden, then you could do that, okay? Whatever your heart desires. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one on how to care for your herbs so that they continue to flourish and be their perennial selves, and you will have endless herbal tea.